Ciao Juventini, welcome back to the All Juve Cast channel, and it's another one of those days where we face those chumps, another Derby d'Italia, and joining me on this one, bright and early, 5 a.m. here, 8 a.m. there, Lewis. Lewis, good morning, my friend.
Good morning, brother.
How
It's
you
great to be back on Derby Italia Day. The air feels different.
Yeah, it's always got a nice spice to it, right? First thing in the morning when you
Yeah.
wake up.
Just you wake up with a smile on your face and you think, we get to beat those turds in Milan.
Yeah, and obviously, hopefully it happens. We talked about it before this. We may have peaked as far as predictions go and calling matches because we literally nailed the last one on the head, almost in its entirety. So that was pretty cool to see. But yeah, what we'll get into this one. I know we have a few topics we want to discuss before we even get to the actual match itself. And just a lot going on. Obviously, Dybala and Ramsey are battling for fitness. Dybala may be on the team list for this one. Obviously, nobody is expecting him to start, and obviously, rightly so. But we are going to talk about Dybala and him possibly joining. Colin, join us now, saying ciao, ciao, Colin. Thanks for joining us. And we have a couple other things we want to get to, and obviously Chiellini, Chiellini being one of them. The partnership that we should see most likely is going to be Demiral and De Ligt. You could make the argument. We know Bonucci's battling a knock he took in the last game. He needs to get fit. Demiral and De Ligt going into this one. I'm fine with it. Would you rather see De Ligt and Chiellini in this particular match? Let's talk about that first, and just Chiellini in general. I was baffled at the amount of disrespect he was getting earlier on in the season. Like, I know he got injured and stuff like that, and we know his body isn't what it used to be, but we've always said, you and I know, in terms of playing when fit, he's still got it, and nobody ever doubted that. But he's got a lot of disrespect from certain fans in terms of even just playing ability and saying there's no point in playing him. Keep rolling with the young guys. These guys are the future. But I still think this guy's got a lot to say in terms of this club and how we do. But elaborate on the defense and your thoughts on the partnership going into this match.
Yeah, I'm actually really curious to see what Pirlo does with that tonight, because I am fine with De Ligt and Demiral, but you wonder if Lukaku coming back changes that just a little bit. He's a little bit more physical. He's quicker than Chiellini was, but just that type of player coming back, you wonder if maybe Pirlo at the last minute. If I was the coach, I'd stick with De Ligt and Demiral. You're brought in to bring in kind of a younger squad, play them in this match. It's a big match for someone like Demiral. And, the thing with Chiellini is, with Bonucci already down, just preserve him. We have Napoli on the weekend. We're going to need him there. We have Porto next week. I know you take it one game at a time, but, just don't rush Chiellini because he's been in really great form. As far as him in general, I mean, his technique, that's not what surprised me, but him lasting as he has kind of really just, there was a part of me that wondered if he was done, because the torn ACL and then the lockdown and then no off season. And you're just like, how does this guy, get back to fitness? It feels like he may never do it. And just what he's been able to do in the last month and a half. I mean, the playing ability is one thing, but what you really notice is the leadership. I mean, you can hear him constantly on the pitch, barking orders, telling people to get in line. There's this lovely photo of him with Danilo after the Ronaldo goal, where he just runs over and just picks him up. So he's not even involved in the play, right? But that's so Chiellini. He's that guy that he goes and finds. Danilo might have won the ball back on the goal, and he goes and finds him. That's just the leadership thing with him is so invaluable, and he gives you like a 12th man when he's on the pitch, because he's the captain, and he embodies that Juventus spirit. So it's really great to see him back. It's great to be able to look at the team and say, hey, we can do De Ligt and Bonucci 1 week, and if we have a game midweek, we can put Chiellini in there, or vice versa. It gives us a lot of depth, and I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, right? Is I think him offering up that changeup, always putting one of our most solid, splitting up De Ligt and Chiellini, is honestly such a smart play by Pirlo. And it's you again, like we said earlier, you could make the argument in this one to go with the both of them, but you got a youngster like Demiral. I'd like to believe that these guys, have faith in Demiral, and maybe he will be sticking around with Juve. If he's moved on or sold, I think it would be a shame, but I could see it if the number comes in very, very high, because we got him at what seemed to be a steal after he was making those original debuts and stuff for us and some of those earlier matches. So we'll see either way, but you do have a guy that you can utilize to keep Chiellini fresh and rested for when he does play. Splitting he and De Ligt up, to me, it's like a no-brainer. Colin coming in here saying he gave him the highest rating of the season last time out, which was against Roma, and Chiellini was an absolute rock there. AJ coming in here with getting Chiellini back to fitness is like a new signing. You know what? It does have that feeling just because of, you talked about the uncertainty at the back as Bonucci was at the heart of the defense. I don't feel, and I think we can all agree that Bonucci in the heart of the D is just, it's not form. But if as an alternative to Demiral, where they are on the outsides of either De Ligt or Chiellini, they both do their part. And Bonucci does seem better next to Chiellini. And hell, I would seem okay next to Chiellini, I'm sure, at center back when he's on, because the guy is just he's a different breed, man. He's old school, but he gets the job done. And I feel confident in either he or De Ligt lining up against Lukaku, who will be back in the match for Merda there. So it's been great seeing Chiellini get back in there. Antonio coming in saying Chiellini is the CR7 of our defense, and just as important. Absolutely. We wanted to talk a bit before we get right into this game. There's some other topics. I know you wanted to discuss the players up front, Lewis.
Oh, yeah. Our front three, because I still see so much disrespect for the front three. And I probably sent it to you, but there's this picture that floated around, and it had all the numbers of our front three. It had Ronaldo's goal tally, which was 24 goals, like 4 assists. Morata has 13 goals, 10 assists, and Chiesa has 9 goals, 6 assists. And one of the things that it's been a while since we've had a front three, like I've established the front three. And, fans really need to just like sit back and enjoy it. Forget the Morata Dybala thing, but just how good all three of those players have been, it's really deadly. And the fact that Juventus can play 3 players that on any given night in 2021, at least, can dictate a game it's awesome. I mean, we've seen against Milan, we've seen Ronaldo dictate games, we've seen Morata win us games. It's a beautiful front three. For whatever reason, there's the fans will like tweet at me that Morata's not that good, or Chiesa's not world class, and it's like they're good players. Like, they've been playing really well. Like, just let it go.
Yeah, it's funny how fickle some can be, right? I know coming in, the feelings that were put out by most, not all, towards Morata even being the pick for Juve, and it's just like, man, I liked it from the get-go. I was on board with it. younger than a lot of the other options that were out there. He has history with Juve, knows what the club's all about. Chiesa was a big one, and the deals that they ended up pulling on these guys were actually great deals. You and I were just discussing the other day the fact that Morata, it's like, we've got another option that we could pull out for another year. The price tag drops, what is it, 10 mil?
10
I believe it drops if we end up wanting to purchase, which is great because he's going to be, I think by the end of the time, if we were to take the second year option on the loan too, he becomes 31 in that other year, I guess. So then you're looking at a 35 million euro fee on a 31-year-old, but it'll depend on performance because right now in Pirlo's setup, there's a lot making the argument that you could make it a permanent because of the impact he's had.
Yeah.
And it's just like I say, it's just that 9 and how crucial it is to the system. Pirlo. And we've got AJ coming in here saying it's the Dybala fans who hate on Morata. Well, I'm a Dybala fan and I don't hate on Morata. But Dybala is somebody we want to talk about, and obviously as he gets fit, possibly being on the team list today, how is this going to shape up for Juve? How do we get the most out of Dybala? Will Pirlo be able to get the most out of Dybala in this setup? Fans making the shout that he can play with Morata and Ronaldo and whatnot, but I see the defensive duty just not being as required. But what's interesting is one of the projected lineups today is a 4-2-3-1. And that's a huge outside shot. Outside shot. But how wild would that be to see? And if we did go in a 4-2-3-1, then things change in terms of Dybala fitting in the role. And I think the reason why people are brushing off the 4-2-3-1 so fast is obviously we haven't seen this season, whatnot, but thinking in Pirlo setup, if you think back to the way we played Merda in the first leg, a 4-2-3-1 actually is doable.
Mm-hmm.
It's doable. If you think of a 4-4-2 base, okay, and what you do instead is line up your forwards. Say it was Kulusevski and Ronaldo, which it is actually projected to be. Think of them in a straight line up and down, okay? And that's kind of how Kulusevski plays. So he sits in front of that mid four. And then in attacking sequence, the guys on the outside, who in this 4-2-3-1 were projected to be Chiesa and Bernardeschi, slide forward and advance forward. Kulusevski advances forward, and then you have your two pivots.
Mm-hmm.
It played pretty damn close to that.
Yeah.
In that first leg. So a 4-2-3-1 is doable. But in the other one is a standard, our standard, the 4-4-2 that slots into a 3-4-1-2. So the thing is, Kulusevski's still probably going to be used in that manner of limiting Brozovic for Merda. So you're still going to see somewhat of a variance. It's not going to be what we see against most teams, but they are going to focus more on the outsides, keeping Hakimi locked up, who's back for Merda. So we probably will not be pushing hard off that wing in order to maintain them. So this is going to be an interesting setup. Going back to the whole thing with Dybala. And I know that there's even teams that no chance of the 4-2-3-1 and whatnot. I know. we're really setting those ways. But if you look at the last match, just the way Kulusevski was used and then the way in attacking,
real quick,
it could happen. But that's a nice thing about Pirlo's setup. We wanted this out of him. You wanted this flexibility, the ability to change on a whim almost. We can do that in this. And that's what's actually kind of exciting. Whether we're going to see it or not, no. Like I said, I'm anticipating a standard 4-4-2 that slots into a 3-4-1-2, but mostly stays 4-4-2 because of Hakimi's threat. But your thoughts on the formations, whatnot, your thoughts on Dybala and how he's going to fit. We need him. We're going to need him. It's going to be crucial to the run. Are we going to be able to get the most out of him? Your thoughts on that, Lewis?
I'll start with the 4-2-3-1. If you look at the 4-2-3-1, you could play exactly how France lined up in the World Cup. You could play with Weston McKennie in the Matuidi role, where he comes out wide, but he comes in as a third midfielder, and then you'd basically have a front three, and he could even just fly up and down that right or left flank, and you'd have balance. Because the only problem with the 4-2-3-1 is our pivots aren't complete enough to do that. Like, Arthur lacks a little bit defensively. Like, if you play Rabiot or Bentancur, you lose something offensively. But now you take an outlier like a Weston McKennie and you send him up and down the flank or you bring him in, you kind of have, a little bit more balance, and you can send Ronaldo in from the left and you can send Morata out wide or Chiesa from the right. You can do a little bit with it. But it'd be something I'd be curious to see it, especially against smaller teams like the 4-2-3-1. I feel like it would help us a lot.
I'd be curious to see it too. And you're absolutely right. This is not the match to probably just throw it out there and fire it up. But I think it's doable. Antonio coming in here saying it's impossible for Juve in his eyes. Because if you look at Bayern, they run that shape, but the difference is on the left side where CR7 is, they have a player willing to do the defensive work. CR7 won't. So I think you would have to almost rule out CR7 and put him as that top guy. Mm-hmm. That still means he's not rigid in staying in that spot in a 4-2-3-1. He could still have his freedom. You have a second forward that comes out of that attacking midfielder role. You get the support and the defensive work from the guys on the outside. Yeah. Your Chiesas, Bernardeschi, whatnot. But it still leaves the question in terms of Dybala and would he fit? He would have to be in that second role. But then again, a lot of people question the physicality, the fitness of Dybala. They see Dybala he needs to be in and around the area. One of those top two positions is his place. And then you have many who feel that he's going to struggle without that 9 next to him. So the Dybala-Morata partnership, just like the CR7-Morata, and the Kulusevski-Ronaldo partnership. Let's just talk about that partnership for a bit, because that's most likely what we're slated to see today. Yeah. How do you feel about this partnership in general? Because there's a lot of mixed feelings about it. And I think out of all the positions we've attempted with Kulusevski, I think that's no doubt been his best in terms of how he's played. But he still leaves a lot to be desired, in my personal opinion. But is that more just player growth, or is it the system and where he fits in there? What do you think about that partnership and Kulusevski?
I think actually I have a couple of things on this, because what we were talking about Dybala, this role that Kulusevski plays actually would be perfect for Dybala, like that role in between the lines. And I think that when he's fit, we will probably see him more. So Pirlo will have I want to play in between the lines. I'll start Paulo today. It'll kind of be like a Chiellini thing, where it's like I can play Dybala one match, or I can play Morata another match, depending on how I tactically want to set up, which is kind of interesting. It could be like a new signing if he comes back fit and his head's in the right space. But Dybala aside, Kulusevski, I think, has shown glimpses of the player that we hoped he would be in this role. It gives him a lot more freedom. I think that part of the problem is, it's not very easy to play with Ronaldo. There's a lot that goes into that. You basically do a lot of the work. Kulusevski, just like, he's not a complete product yet. He's not like a Dybala or a Morata. It's very, very difficult. I mean, we even saw that it took Dybala a whole year to learn how to play with Ronaldo. So it's not very easy. And another thing, like personal growth, he still has slow decision making. To play in that role, you have to be quick with the ball at your feet. You have to get 1-2 touches, get it out to the flanks, or get slip CR in. It's like so he still has to learn some decision making. But sometimes, like the way that they're set up, like in the Murder game where he was basically null and void, he did a lot of defensive work. So sometimes they implement that formation so he can help in the midfield. He's basically like a fourth midfielder. He comes and he takes out the regista. So I think that, it's a good role for him. He's been brightening at times, and they figured out a way to utilize him, but there's still a little bit more from him that we're looking for. And he's only 20 years old. So like for 20 years old, it's been pretty good for a 20-year-old, but
Absolutely.
still a little bit more that he can improve on, like any 20-year-old.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a good way to put it. So yeah, he's definitely not finished product by any means. This position seems to be working best for him. Do you think, and this was a question we got a lot of on the podcast, the last episode, which I apologize to everybody. We had some audio issues with my guest and wasn't able to recover it in terms of the quality. But when we were recording live, I had no issues hearing him, so we didn't even really notice. But is Kulusevski best as an impact sub? And would that be the best way to use him and continue his growth too? What do you think in terms of that, Lewis?
I'd probably say yes. I think just because if you give him 20 minutes, like it's a quick 20 minutes, like burst of energy. And he's kind of a wild card because you can play him almost anywhere. Like in the attack, you can play him out wide. You can play him as a second striker, so like depending on what, I mean, we can argue what his best position is, but if he's running at defenses, especially if you're up like 1-0 or 1, like Kulusevski becomes a really big wild card because that's where he likes the counterattack.
I've got more confidence in him bagging goals when he enters a match, as opposed to when he starts it. It's weird. He's got this effect. He's also he's pretty physical. Like he's actually like really, really strong. It comes out in certain instances, but there's a couple scenarios this season I can think of where he literally brushed these guys aside like they were children and just kind of like run. I was like, wow. I was like, it was like a side of him. It kind of caught me off guard, like his actual strength. I think it's interesting. Georg coming in here. Kulu also offers versatility as an impact sub, just like we were talking about when Dybala is fit. He could come in for Chiesa, McKennie, or Morata. So yeah, it's exactly that. The options that he gives you, right? And I want to touch on a question from Harel here that says, how can we handle Merda's pressure without Arthur? I think the lack of energy in the last game is a huge warning sign. So this is it's so honestly, you could use the lack of energy. I'm not sure if he's speaking to the previous match against Merda or the previous match against Roma in the league. So you could apply both, definitely in the second half to the first leg, the Merda tie, and then definitely against Roma there, as we seem to play Catenaccio, but wanted to. This is something I started talking about in terms of this club and Pirlo in general. Is I'm curious to see how we can balance things out, and hopefully stay away from being that team that starts to absorb more now that they get comfortable at the back, and just absorb some pressure, give up a lot of play, and just try and hit teams on counters. While I do feel we are capable of hitting teams on counters and being dangerous in that regard, I don't think it's a way to make a living. Even our Capitano Chiellini has said it's hard playing that way. It's hard, or it's so hard on your defenders, the team as a whole, to play off the throttle. when you're playing more in the attacking phase, obviously it becomes easier. You're making the opposition do the majority of the running, as you move the ball around and whatnot. So when we give that up and we start to see a lack of energy and whatnot, well, it kind of makes sense if you're going to play almost an entire half, let alone 3/4, 2/3 of a match in the defensive phase and trying to just absorb and whatnot. While we handled Roma at ease relatively, I mean, there's a couple decent opportunities in that whole match, but for the most part, we just shut them right down. I don't know. I want to see the balance. I want to see us be able to be solid at the back and still be able to control play against a better opposition. Because if we look back so far with the body of work this season, we've controlled play in the majority of our games. But when we play the better sides, we give up a lot of play, which is natural. But we give up. Does it feel like I feel like we give up too much play? And we start to go back to old ways where we kind of want to sit in this shell and whatnot. We haven't felt comfortable with it. But lately we are starting to feel comfortable with it because of the guys we have back, which is natural. But there are many fans that are starting to say, hey, how are we going to, be able to balance things out a bit better? Because the biggest thing is there's always a trade-off. And when you play that counterattacking style, and if you want to sit back and play that way, you sacrifice offensive creation and whatnot. We've seen that. We've seen that go as we didn't create a whole lot in the first leg of this series with Merda. Had a few chances. We were clinical on the ones we had, but the Bastoni gift, take that away in that PK, there wasn't a whole lot of offense created. So that's what kind of worries me too about achieving the balance, still being solid at the back, but still being able to create. So what do you kind of think along those lines, and how do you feel about this team? Do you think we're just doing it in set matches, which is fine too if Pirlo wants to just adapt to his opponent?
Yeah.
But are we going to start seeing this kind of trend where we go back to old ways?
I think that there's two tales here. Against some of the bigger teams, I think that Pirlo early got burned by these teams. And if you look in the second matchups against them, he changes based on the way that they play. So, for instance, Roma's a really good counterattacking team. They like to send their wingbacks really high, and they like to just, hit you quick on the counter. So to counteract that, you kind of have to play that Allegri style, like suck them in and then, break. And because Roma's not good enough to break down Juventus' defense when it's 8 men behind the ball. So I didn't really have a problem with it in the Roma game. But the Merda game, there is some concern there because, Merda destroyed us on the counterattack. But also, you can't sit there from start to finish because it's very hard, like you said, to be like a 8-man defensive team and then break 8 men into the opposing half. You just can't do it. Somewhere you're going to miss something. Like the transition's going to suffer. Something's going to suffer. And I think that what really concerns me is when we're playing a team like Sampdoria and we go up 1-0 and then immediately the pressure comes off. And in the second half, we're kind of just hoping. We know we're going to get that second. It's just a matter of when. And that's where it's really concerning for me. I understand against some of the bigger teams where you say, hey, we don't have like the personnel maybe to keep up with a Murder Milan. So we're going to stop them what they do best, maybe because this isn't the strongest Juventus team of the last decade. Hey, like maybe Roma really killed us on the flanks. Okay, we're going to sit back a little bit, have a couple men behind the ball, and then hopefully break them, I understood it in the Roma game and a little bit in the first leg. But the small teams is where it really worries me. I understand how you could smell the blood against Sampdoria. Like, we played a great first half. Go get 2, go get 3, go get 4, and then just put it away. Even if you concede 1, you're going to get 2 or 3. Like, just go for it.
And let's put it this way. This particular match today, if we were to sit back and want to play a countering style, how would you feel about it?
I mean, I wouldn't love it because I think that we need a goal, but like I wouldn't hate it either. Like I would understand if they did it, Like I understand the logic of, hey, we're gonna sit off a little bit and then we're gonna try and hit them on the counter because their best 11 demolished us on the counter in that game at the San Siro in the league. So, I mean, I understand it. It's just like it's one of those things where it's hard on the eye. It's hard. You understand fans' frustration with it. Also, too, the big knock on Sarri was, hey, he just did everything that we saw and not everything that he wanted to. So then the question becomes with Pirlo, once you back off your kind of mentality, you go, okay, we're going to go back to old school. Well, to be like, all right, we're going to go play my style now is very, very hard to do. And then, like, you almost wonder, like, as a fan, I would rather see us implement a style, play it all year, and fail than, implement a style, go back to the other one, and then fail that way.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, I think these games, anytime you get in these derbies, it's, tactics and all that, like while it's great to think about and whatnot, it kind of goes out the window and it becomes a bit of a dogfight, So you put your tactics out there, you want to achieve something, but it could change like that because they just, man, emotions run high in these matches. Anything can happen. And of course the stakes, Pirlo saying they want to go to this final. They want to get there at all costs. I have faith these guys are going to be prepared. If we want to sit back and play on the counter, I don't think it's going to work out the best. With them getting those guys back, I mean, they feed off it. If we watch this club, man, they do quite well when they're allowed to be given all this. And the thought of officiating comes into it too, especially after the weekend match against Roma. I saw so much questionable shit that was either let go or whatnot. And I just think Pirlo needs to, whatever Pirlo decides, like, I'm going to be behind it 100%. I think we have more than enough to handle these guys, but it's going to be harder. It's going to be harder with Hakimi being in there. He makes a big impact. It's going to be harder with Lukaku and whatnot. So while I feel confident with De Ligt pocketing Lukaku, why give them way more opportunities than they need to, right? So I think the balance is going to be big, and that's what I'm going to be looking for out of this match. In terms of this question from Harel, how can we handle Merida's pressure without Artur? It's pretty much going to come down to Benta being that guy. Bentancur is going to have to step it up. We may have to have some of these long ball options. Bonucci's not back there, but Danilo's fully capable, who will be in the lineup. Cuadrado is capable. I think you have to keep them honest and you have to keep them stretched. So I think we'll probably see a little bit mixed bag of tricks in terms of offense. If we want to go through Merida always with ball at feet, they make it very, very hard to do so. So we're going to have to attempt some of these and offer a bit of a change up in order to attack them. If we want to go right through the feet, it's going to be hard. We saw last match when the left side was Sandro, Rabiot, Bernardeschi. It was hard, very, very hard to advance up the pitch over there because they're trying to do it at feet, and you've got one guy who's solely left-footed that won't even attempt to pass with his right foot, and the other guys weren't gelling. So you got to offer a change up. We have to keep them honest. We have to look at a few stretch plays here and there just to keep them going. In terms of Pirlo and his tactics, you wanted to touch on that, and you did touch on that. Basically how he's very, very good, I think, in terms of adapting from one match to the other. Okay. In terms of in-game, it's getting better as well. So Pirlo's grown big time. Anybody that still has doubts or whatnot, I mean, sure, you could still have your doubts overall, but to say that the team hasn't grown or progressed is false, in my opinion. We'll get to some of the guest stuff here as we get close to getting out predictions and everything, even though Matthias wasted no time throwing out the 4-0. Wow. Wow. Okay. We will definitely get to predictions and whatnot. AJ throwing in a little something here. When Pirlo plays that way, he's the pragmatic genius. But when Allegri did it, Allegri out. There's context there that's clearly out of it.
That is not fair, AJ, because Allegri was a genius, and then towards the end, it stalled a little. And listen, I'm an Allegri fan. Like, I think 4 years he was great, but that team the last year should have been a lot better. And if you look at the teams that won the UCL that year, we were better than that team on paper, and that team was very flat. And the change had to happen, and that's why the fans wanted Allegri out. It wasn't necessarily his tactics, but it was that year and how flat they played.
I don't think these two things are. I can't put them together. Antonio, Merda, don't worry me at all. I've said for a while we can only fear ourselves. If we play a counterattack, then so be it. There is a spot in a final here, and the result is the only thing that matters. Absolutely. It's all about getting that result. Eric's coming in here saying, I think people forget that using counter is an actual tactic, and shows Pirlo's understanding that not every match deserves the same tactic. Absolutely. Great point there. However, again, it's about using your tactics while not allowing the team to suffer as a whole. It's that balance. I'm fine with them playing a counter. What I'm not fine with is if we only come out of an entire match with, say, one quality opportunity. It's great if we're clinical enough that we can do that, but we know better than probably any side out there that trying to bank on the guys being clinical all the time, man, we've had roles reversed. We've been, say, Roma in so many matches this season where we dominated play, we controlled play, we were generating good chances and weren't scoring. So now all of a sudden, if you cut that right out and we give ourselves less, that's where the concern lies. It's fine to do it as a tactic, but you're asking a lot of your defense and you're asking a lot of your guys up front because you're cutting out, again, it hasn't been balanced. So when we go to that style, you lose out up top, but you got to be ready to bury the few opportunities you get. And that's the big question, is if that's going to be enough. I agree with you, Lewis. I think we need one goal for sure.
Yeah.
So it'll be the projected lineup. We talked a bit about some outside shots and whatnot, like that 4-2-3-1. But honestly, I doubt, everybody highly doubts that and whatnot. I just thought it'd be interesting to discuss in terms of options and what could be done. But for the most part, what we should be seeing is Buffon at the back, Cuadrado, Demiral, De Ligt, Danilo in the middle, Bentancur, Rabiot, and then McKennie with Bernardeschi ahead of Danilo on the left side, and then Kulusevski, Ronaldo up top. This projected lineup, how do you feel about it? Should we go that way? What do you think's going to happen? And the other thing is, too, we got to talk about this because it's something we're facing. Not that it's going to matter because there's a spot for the final in up for grabs. Yellow cards that could miss the final. Okay.
Yeah.
Ready.
Right.
I think it'd be easier if we listed guys that aren't in danger of missing the final rather than the ones that could. But Ronaldo, Morata, Chiesa, Bentancur, De Ligt, Demiral, Arthur, Rabiot, Bernardeschi, and Sandro. If a yellow card's received, will miss the final. So
needs to just not get near anyone. Like just like 5-6 social distance from every player.
Well, this is going to be a battle. I expect a chippy one too, for quite a bit, man. We all remember in the first leg that money tackle by De Ligt that sent Barella into oblivion there, and I expect the same out of De Ligt, all the guys to have that grinta. But Ronaldo and Morata, no fear there. Ronaldo's, I have no issues with him. He won't pick up a yellow. I'd be shocked if he did in any way. Morata, not starting for most part, so we should be safe there. Chiesa, could happen.
Yeah.
Could happen the way he plays. Like I could see it. He may even get it possibly on simulation because you never know with the kid.
Yeah.
Like he likes to embellish calls. It is part of his game.
Yeah.
It is what he does. I see a lot of Barella in him in terms of embellishing calls. Like they kind of go to it. Bentancur.
Gone. Yeah. Forget about him for the final. Like
it's tough to bank on that guy not getting it.
Yeah.
He had a little stretch there. I think he went three matches or something without a yell, and everybody's like, "Whoa, what's going on?"
Yeah.
De Ligt and Demirel, high possibility.
Yeah. Demirel.
And that's just because, well, Demirel is Demirel is like half Montero in terms of what could happen. But De Ligt, it could be a professional foul that he has to take in this match that sees him out of the final. Bernardeschi, not so much. I don't think I'm not terribly concerned. Artur's out.
Yeah.
So he'll be okay for the final, which is big. Rabiot plays a pretty physical game, box to box. So out of all the guys there, and Sandro, of course, not expected to get the start. Danilo expected to start over him. Man, honestly, there's a few guys in there that it would hurt. I think like Bentancur be one. Obviously, it would hurt if we lose Ronaldo Morata, but I'm not worried about them picking one up. The guys I'd be concerned about are Bentancur, Chiesa, De Ligt. Demirel, I'm not so sure he gets the nod in a final anyways, if we make it.
Yeah.
I think once you make that final, which is, I think, slated for May 19th, they put the date out. I might be mistaken, but May 19th, I think you would see either a Chiellini Bonucci or possibly a Chiellini De Ligt.
Yeah.
I feel fine there if he were to get one or whatnot. So yeah, Bernardeschi. I mean, Bernardeschi's another option. Artur will be safe for the final because he's not expected to play in this. I think we'll be okay. Alex P thrown out there, no problem. Our boy Fagioli in the Coppa Italia final. Wouldn't that be something, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I think that's a lot of guys to worry about. But in terms of these matches, and it's the Derby d'Italia spot in the final, you don't even think about it, and you go with what you got.
Yeah.
And whatever happens when you get to the final. If and when we do, you worry about that at that time. But the nice thing is, and I've been talking about for a while now, I feel we have better options and more of them than we have in quite some time.
Yeah.
Not just in terms of, we'll use this guy here, whatnot. Like we actually have a good amount of serviceable players. And you throw in a couple of utility guys like Bernardeschi, Quadrado, and whatnot, and the guys that can make a difference coming off the bench. We will have Dybala available too. You've got Morata. Like I said, Morata should end up being safe with this one because he's probably, if he sees time, it's coming in as a cameo or whatnot, so you wouldn't expect him to get a yellow. However, he's pretty fiery, has a temper on him, so this is a derby. But it's good in terms of options and what we have going on and whatnot. So I really feel better about the squad as a whole in terms of that. Do you kind of agree with that, whatnot? And real quick, AJ's got a question here. Is the away goal rule in Coppa Italia the same as Champions League? It is. Those away goals for us, we got the two away goals. So yeah, that does come into play, AJ. It's the same rule. Lewis, in terms of this club and its depth and whatnot, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think in terms of, I wouldn't say quality, but in terms of like the way the system is, it's very fluid. And Pirlo has a specific style, and he has players for the way that he wants to play. So obviously there's a drop-off between the Chiesa and the Bernardeschi, right? But in theory, they can play the same way because they're similar types of players. And then, the ability to switch it with a player in between the lines up front instead of Morata, what you can do with the midfield, like Ramsey and McKinney kind of play the same position. Rabiot, Bentancur, and Artur all play the same position. And we have 4 center backs. Like, we have depth in that regard, just because the way the system is built. I think as far as the lineup goes today, it's kind of what I expected. I wouldn't be surprised if Pirlo threw in a wild card like a Chiesa down the left, or just like an Alexandro in there somewhere, like I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. But for the most part, this is kind of what I expected. It worked well in the first leg. If it worked well, why tear it apart? I think that they're looking for a little bit of balance down the left and the right. Try and counteract Hakimi a little bit and attack that left wing back, which is a huge weakness for Murta. Cuadrado should have a good game, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. Again, we will see. We will see. He takes you through the highs and lows, man. Minute to minute, that's for sure. But he does come up with some big plays, obviously, against Roma there for the second goal. I think he was on the pitch for like 5 minutes prior, played a beautiful ball to Kulishevsky. So it's big there. We'll see what he can do. Antonio coming in here with, let's not forget one main thing here. We have a goal machine who in these clutch matches is an animal. CR fucking 7. Well, yeah, it's he's the game breaker. He needs to be. Everybody's opinion is kind of mixed in terms of how he's been over the last run, but the one thing is he's scoring, and that's all we need him to do. I don't care how they come, just the fact that he's scoring. So let's talk now. Let's talk about this one. Like we said earlier, we nailed the last one. And I was pretty damn fired up, and I called it. We're fucking winning. You know? Today, how do we feel today? I feel pretty good, to be honest.
Yeah.
I like where the club's at. I got a good feeling. I think it's going to be much different in terms of what they're going to throw at us. I do think we're going to be well prepared. I built confidence in Pirlo, having us at least prepared now, and the fact that he's got good guys at his disposal.
And we're healthy. We're healthy too, which is very rare that we have a majority of our players healthy.
Yeah. So if we factor in that projected lineup, which is most likely what we will see, let's get everybody that's joined us live. Throw your predictions out now on the chat here. Matthias jumped the gun quite a bit, I think like about 15 minutes ago with his 4-0. Very, very optimistic. I don't love to be wrong and your prediction, Matthias, to play out and you get the 4-0. But let's talk about your thoughts, your predictions, kind of how you think this one's going to play out. And we'll give everybody joining us some time to get their predictions in.
Yeah, I think we're going to have a pretty open game, actually. I think that Pirlo kind of hinted at wanting to get that goal kind of early, for better or for worse, in his pre-match presser. I don't know if that was maybe just, trying to throw the opposition off or not, but I think Murder are going to come out of the gate. They're going to come hard. They're going to try and hit us in the mouth. And I think we're going to get a 2-2 game, which means Juve advance. And we're going to see a Ronaldo goal. And I'm going to be odd here. I'm going to say we're going to get that rare Bernardeschi goal. He's good for 1 goal a year, and they usually come up in weird moments. I think today's the day.
Man, we've been talking about for a while. Cuadrado's due for one of his big game breaking goals too, right? Like he always gets one where it's just like, usually throughout the course of a season he'll get a couple where they're just big goals, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I might throw out a Cuadrado goal going there, but let's see here. Georg coming in with first goal will be huge to where the tie will go. First goal for them will give them a huge psychological boost to get another. A goal for us will leave them with a huge task to do, going for 1-1. Yeah, it's absolutely. I mean, when you're chasing the tie, you want to get that first one. We know Merda's going to press us. We know they're going to come at us hard. It's going to be up to us and what we do. Idris coming in with it. Pirlo plays Rabiot and Benta. That's a huge disadvantage for us. I don't know. I think, again, we spoke to it earlier. It depends on how we play, but it isn't in terms of Rabiot's physicality.
Yeah.
Bentancur, if Arthur's not available, Bentancur has been the guy, and honestly, Bentancur's been pretty good as of late. He's been really good. While he's got you take some pros and cons out of everybody. Artur has some cons as well. His possession is big for us and would have been welcomed in this game, but Benta could slot in nicely. So, Lewis, you want to touch on this? Fire away.
Remind everyone, Juventus' best performance in Serie A, Arthur was not on the pitch for it. So as good as Arthur's been, tactically, I think it matters a little bit more how they set up the rest of the 11. That was against Milan. But Rabiot, like you said, brings a lot of physicality. He's not my favorite player, but for what he brings, it's kind of needed in this match. I think that, you need someone who's going to disrupt Merda's midfield, because that's what they do. We know how Conte teams play. They play out of the back, they play from the midfield vertical, and they want to whip balls into the middle. So you kind of need some defensive-minded players. You need players that are going to make things uncomfortable, and that's what Rabiot is really good at. And Bentancur as well.
And he's been on the up as of late too, and I think it's nice that Rabiot has kind of considered to be on the outside looking in. Mm-hmm. And his play has picked up as of late too. So I feel okay with those guys. We'll keep on with some of these comments and the predictions. Colin saying, I vote for Matthias' prediction, but I can't predict it. I'm too superstitious. There you go. Lewis, do you have any superstition? Are you a superstitious person? Do you do anything on game day? What's your routine?
Well, usually I get up in the morning, I work out, and then on game day, I watch like a lot of Juve videos. I might watch some of the most recent matches, or I'll go get some throwbacks, maybe watch some ADP tributes. But the night before the match, I pick the jersey out ahead of time. I know what I'm going to wear. And last leg, I wore this butte from Conte's second season, which has ADP on the back of it.
Nice.
So kind of unique, and it worked well for us last time, so I think I'm going to go with it again.
I like it. What
are your suspicions?
Well, it kind of sometimes can change. I'm not highly superstitious, but if we get a streak or we get something going, but the one thing against Merda is always stripes. I have to sport the stripes against Merda. And today, of course, yes, sporting the stripes again. That's great. I want to actually leave it open to everybody to join us live too. Superstitions, what do you got on game day? I want to hear them popping down here. We'll continue on with some of these predictions here. Antonio saying we have 2 away goals. That will be crucial. I fear the referee in this one and hope he is consistent. It's been shocking, some of the decisions against us. Juventus 2, Merda 0. There you go. He's got the 2-0. Alex coming in with 2-1. Luca, holy, nice of you to wake up and join us now 52 minutes into this live. But Luca coming in here with, are we mentally ready for Barella to rip our mid apart again? So here's the thing. Barella, no doubt, he's fantastic. He's developing into like the best Italian midfielder out there right now. Yeah. But I think that's a big part of how we structure the team in this one. Ramsey, we talked about earlier, him trying to get fit with Dybala at the same time and stuff. Ramsey in that, if you look at this team, the way we lined up in that Serie A match where they gave us fits, especially down that side, we can't have Ramsey in there.
Yeah.
At that spot. So having Rabiot there, even a guy like Bernardeschi will keep that side in check. It won't be as easy. Having Rabiot in there, the physicality and whatnot, he'll go at, I have faith he'll go at and take a piece of Barella whenever he can. De Ligt will do it, no doubt. De Ligt will send him to the moon again.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. But it's hard to contain a guy like that. It's hard to contain a guy like Barella. Also in their setup, he's given that freedom to kind of cheat.
Yeah.
To kind of cheat in that attacking phase and whatnot. So it's not necessarily will he rip our mid apart again, but he's going to have an impact on a game because he's allowed to too. They do a good job of how they utilize their personnel. I hate giving credit to those chumps, but you have to give credit where it's due. He's a great player. They know how to use him, and they do it. They do a good job. But I'm not terribly concerned in this one. Your kind of thoughts on that whole thing and Barella and whatnot?
Yeah, they play him a lot like they did with Marquisio when Conte was our coach. And kind of give him a lot of freedom to kind of go wherever he wants. It makes it so difficult to play against him because he can end up wide on the flanks and you don't know that he's out there. But I think if Juventus play their game and if they do kind of similar to what they did the last match, if you stop Brozovic and you stop whoever that third midfielder is, I think that you can neutralize him a little bit. I'm not too worried about it, but everyone be prepared. I will be firing off the Juventus should have signed Barella tweet, as I do every time he plays against us, because it's painful to see him in an Inter jersey.
Yeah, man, it really is. But look at this. Look at this. First of all, Colin agrees with me. I'm ready for De Ligt to send Barella into orbit. I love that. Love that. Antonio coming in here, with all due respect to Barella, but if a player like that can potentially rip us apart, then we should give up today. Our mid on our day is far superior to Barella or any Merda midfielder. Ooh, I think we might be selling Barella a little bit short there. He's a fantastic midfielder, man. Even Malay coming in here. So yeah, screw Barella. He is good, but people are overhyping him way too much. If our midfield just do their part, Barella isn't doing much this game. He's going to be hard to get. Like I said, we have players that could potentially rip them apart if we were allowed to cheat in that manner. So they know what they're doing. Brozovic is always deep. Always deep. The other two, they'll use one as more of a stabilizing midfielder, defensively win it, but Barella's always the cheater.
Yeah.
Always cheating up ahead, looking for that space in order to assist the two forwards in the counterattacks. And then you have Hakimi, who just blazes. This guy's wheels are crazy.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing for us when we do attack is if we're going to attack and we have to commit the amount of people in attack that we usually do, if we play a slow controlling type game, then that means we do have to commit many people forward to generate our opportunities and generate offense. When we do that, we open ourselves up. So what do we do? Do we kind of wait to attack them quickly when we do win possession back? That would be the best way to do it, to try and kind of maintain them and whatnot. But when we are in possession, Pirlo's got to work out a way where we're not so predictable on the attack and that we're kind of balanced out and stable so that we don't allow them to find those holes in behind our lines to just attack us openly. De Ligt on Lukaku will be lit. That will be an awesome matchup to watch. And it's going to really dictate a lot of this game is how he can prevent him from being that option for them. If he can sniff that one out, it'll make things more difficult for them, for sure. Luka coming in, everyone just bashing Barella. Hate Merda, but you cannot deny his talent. He's a good player. Colin coming in here. Realistically, our midfield has a lot of potential with the BAM combo, but as a unit, it is still in the forming stage. I agree. Lewis, you wanted to touch on something?
Yeah, well, all these Juventini talking about Barella, not you, Al, but I got so much trash 2 years ago when I said, we got to sign this guy. No, he's not Juventus material. Leave it alone. He's a good player. If we play our game, we should be able to win. One player cannot destroy a team.
My defense, and I was with you on Barella.
Yeah.
Let's get this kid. He's in our backyard, so you got to pay a fee, whatever. Would we have said McKennie is Juventus caliber?
No.
Not knowing him, just hearing that he came from Schalke, looking at numbers, looking at this, would anybody have been like, hey, this guy is not even? Everybody would have been. There was a lot of people that were like, this is our signing, and just like so down in the dumps about it. And the kid didn't even play a fucking second for Juve. And we were already like, what a disappointing signing. And then all of a sudden it's like, man, he's a lock. He's a lock in this setup.
I will say the thing about Barella was, though, we had a whole year of watching him in Serie A, and he was playing for the national team. That was the difference. It was like it was there. Because just like, you know, like you don't like know where he would come from the Bundesliga. You know, it's a different league.
U.S. men's national team player too, though, and one of their best mids, hands down. But yeah, it's the thing is we were watching him forever, and then we get Ramsey in that window, who comes in at high wages. He was free, which on his day can be great, but his days are few and far. When is his day going to be? Like, is it a full moon? Is it supposed to be a full moon tonight? Like, who fucking knows, right? So that's kind of one of the things.
Yeah.
But I hear you, and it's just funny to see this. And I think this is more everybody getting amped up for the Derby d'Italia and just saying, fuck those guys. They know deep down, you guys fucking know Barella's a good player, but fuck Merda today.
Yeah,
okay? Today he is the enemy. So it's all good. Luca, I appreciate it, and you kind of get ripped apart for your one comment an hour into a live because you just woke up, but it's okay. Things will get better. Things will get better. Prediction time. Man, honestly, for me, I think it's going to be super, super tight. The first goal will be big in dictating what happens, but man, you factor in our game changer. He's scoring goals at a good rate right now. Kulusevski being in there. Can he shut down, limit Brozovic again as much? De Ligt will shut down Lukaku. How will Hakimi impact the game? Barella, all this. No Artur for us to control it, but ultimately we're finding our rhythm. We're really, really finding our rhythm. We are able to find wins now in different ways, which is big. That's the biggest thing that wasn't there start of the season till now. We're building this comfortable way of playing through the matches and ultimately getting the results. So now it's like if we're sacrificing possession or whatnot, we become clinical. We just find those goals. We get enough done, and we're comfortable now at defense where we weren't before. Now all of a sudden you factor in the fact that we are comfortable at the back. We're getting in rhythm. We're getting clean sheets. That's a scary Juve. That's a very, very scary Juventus. We've talked about it for a while. When CR7 hits the switch, because again, it's only a matter of time when he truly, truly hits the switch. We talked about he's scoring goals now, but we know he's got 2 more gears on top of what we're getting. He's at least got 2 more gears on top of what we're getting. Mm-hmm. Does it come today? It's a possibility. I think ultimately we will always be, and we still are, and we're very much in these other clubs' heads.
Yeah.
Okay. They mind fuck themselves whenever they have to face Juve. The fact that we're in rhythm now and we're moving forward bodes well for us in Serie A, in these other competitions. I feel confident. Juventus, I'm calling will win this one. Okay. Will they get a clean sheet? I don't know if I can call a clean sheet in one of these tough ones. I'm going to say we will surrender 1. Just because you've got a lot of wild cards in there. The officiating, PKs. We've got a lot of stuff going against Juve, and just Demiral. I'm going to be honest. Demiral provides a little bit of a wild card for me, even though I like the kid a lot. I think they find 1, but I think Juve finds 2. I'm going to go 2-1. Juventus, we win. Are we going to see another magical moment in a Derby d'Italia? Let's talk about, before we wrap it up here, Alex P, guys, let's wrap it up. I got to work. Hey, man, I got to get ready for work too here. Let's go with favorite Derby d'Italia moments. I'm going to let you kick us off, and I want everybody to join us as we wrap up here. What is your favorite Derby d'Italia moments? Get them in here on the chat as we wrap up and say see you later. So, Lewis, go ahead.
In Conte's first season, we played a match at home where we were up 1-0. It was a hard-fought match. Murder were on the decline that year, but ADP came on, and Vidal slipped him in beautifully, and he scored the goal to seal it. And it was in that moment I knew, okay, Juventus is going to win the Scudetto this year, because that game was so difficult. We got a goal from Martin Cáceres and ADP's goal, and the camera, I remember, on the TV was shaking because the stadium was going so loud. It was awesome. So that was my favorite Derby d'Italia moment.
There you go, man. That's awesome. And I see a bunch coming in here now. We got Marquisio versus Cesar. Abdul coming in with Marquisio's goal against Cesar. Colin coming in with Quadrado's golazo from outside the box. And for me, there's a picture above my shoulder. And this one sticks with me and will always stick with me. AJ coming in with Higuain 90. That one was huge.
Oh, good shot.
Higuain in the 90th. I was in the middle of a soccer match, a football match. I was at a tournament and I was on the field and I knew they were playing. And then it was like we were hitting a break. And then I grabbed my phone, I put it on the zone. And I was like, holy shit. I was like, Juve came back. And then all of a sudden it was like this free kick. I'm losing it on the sideline and the match is happening. And they're like, dude, we're about to kick off again and we need you back in here. And I'm like, okay, yeah, hang on. And I'm just like running on the sideline. I'm like, okay, I got to grab my shit and get back out there. It was hilarious. And everybody was laughing, but they're like, man, come on, get your head in this. And I was just taken back, but that one sticks out to me because of that. Del Piero's free kick late in the match, San Siro. This picture above my shoulder over here, man, the free kick itself, how beautiful it was.
Yeah.
Okay, keeper planted right in the corner, late in the match, Derby d'Italia, and then the celebration. Okay, that picture, right there, arms out, and back then the kits were pretty baggy.
Yeah.
And it literally looked like he was a Juventus flag waving in the friggin' wind. And I was just like, and he had the hair at that time with the chops, and it's just like, man, that picture is like my favorite thing ever. And I love the jersey that season. I'm just like, it's always embedded in my brain, man, that one. But all these ones were amazing, man. So many amazing moments in the Derby d'Italia. And Malay saying I was in the middle of a Costco for that Higuain goal. Priceless. Lost it in there. People looking at me like I'm crazy. Yeah, that's a good place to lose it for a goal too. That's so funny.
To LA, and I almost wrecked the car because I had it like it was on stream and it was glitching, and then it went in.
Oh yeah,
swerved. I was going nuts.
That's funny, man. It's great hearing all those stories and so many moments. Hopefully today we get another one of those moments and move on to the final, which will be huge for this club. Lewis, as always, it's been an absolute pleasure rocking another pre-match live. Everybody gets a double dose of this guy because he's coming back for the post-match podcast tomorrow live at 5, everybody. So make sure you join us as we can break it all down. But everybody who joined on the live, thank you. You guys have been amazing, great comments, a lot of fun. I'm having a lot of fun doing these lives. So make sure you stay tuned. Every match day, 5 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, be doing these match day lives. And then, of course, the podcasts are now live. You can get your comments, thoughts, questions in as we record. So everybody, enjoy the Derby d'Italia, the second leg of the Coppa Italia Final. Juve, merda. Hopefully we get the job done. The boys take us to a final and a shot at another trophy this season. It's going to be a great match. Enjoy, and we will all talk very, very soon. As always, Forza Juve, fino alla fine. Ciao.